All right, today we are diving into a gripping ancient story about a city under siege. It's a crisis so intense it pushes human nature right to the brink, and then it takes a turn that absolutely nobody could have seen coming. So, let's set the scene. Our story kicks off in the city of Samaria. They're completely surrounded by the Aramean army, and the siege has dragged on for a long, long time, which means the city is totally cut off. Inside, a truly horrifying famine has taken over. Imagine you're there, walking through what's left of a marketplace, and you see this price tag, 80 shekels of silver. I mean, in a city where people are literally starving, what on earth could be worth that much? Get this, that was the price for one single donkey's head. The part that would normally be thrown in the trash. Even something as worthless as seed pods were selling for 5 shekels. This is what a total economic freefall looks like. A grim snapshot of the sheer desperation inside that city. But, as bad as that is, it gets so much worse. This horrifying quote comes from a woman screaming at the king of Israel. It's a story of cannibalism, born from pure starvation. A pact made between two mothers and then broken. We're talking about a complete breakdown of the most basic, fundamental human bonds. When the king hears this, he just loses it. He tears his robes, and the crowd can see that underneath he's already wearing sackcloth, a sign of deep mourning. But in an instant, that grief curdles into pure rage. He decides this is all the fault of one man, the prophet Elisha, and he swears he'll have Elisha's head by the end of the day. But right at that moment, just as the king's executioner is on his way, the whole story pivots. In this moment of utter, absolute hopelessness, Elisha makes one of the most unbelievable promises you can possibly imagine. Elisha announces that by this time tomorrow, the entire economy is going to flip upside down. We're going from 80 shekels for a donkey's head to 1 shekel for the finest flour and barley, real food. It's an economic reversal so extreme, it frankly sounds like the ravings of a madman. And of course, somebody calls him on it. One of the king's top officers, who's right there, just scoffs. His reaction is pure, understandable skepticism. He's basically saying, "Are you kidding me? Even if God himself opened the windows of heaven, there's no way that could happen." Now, Elisha doesn't argue. He doesn't debate. He just looks at the officer and delivers this chillingly specific warning. He says, "Oh, you will see it. You'll see it with your own eyes, but you will not eat any of it." And that line just hangs in the air. You know it's not good. So how does this impossible promise come true? You'd think the king or his army would be the key, right? Nope. In a shocking twist, the ones who actually bring about this incredible deliverance are 4 of the most forgotten, marginalized people in the whole city. Right outside the city gate, there are 4 men with leprosy, total outcasts, and they're just weighing their options with cold, hard logic. Okay, option 1, we stay here, we die of hunger. Option 2, we go in the city, we die of hunger. Option 3, we surrender to the enemy. Now, they might kill us, but they might not. It's not an act of faith, it's just a calculated risk, the only choice that isn't a guaranteed death sentence. So, as dusk starts to fall, these 4 men start walking towards the Aramean camp. They're probably expecting either a quick death or maybe a strange act of mercy. But what they find is something else entirely. They get to the edge of the camp, and it's completely silent. There's no one there. The tents are still standing, full of food and gold and supplies. The horses and donkeys are still tied up. We're told the Lord had made the Arameans hear the sound of a phantom army, chariots, horses, a huge force, and they panicked, fleeing for their lives and leaving everything behind. Now at first, they do what anyone would do. They eat and drink and even hide some treasure for themselves. But then their conscience kicks in. They look at each other and realize, wait a minute, what are we doing? This is a day of amazing news, and we're keeping it to ourselves while everyone else starves? We have to go back. We have to tell them. So the news gets back to the king, and what's his first reaction? Not joy, not relief, but deep suspicion. He's immediately convinced it's a trap. He thinks the Arameans are just hiding nearby, waiting to ambush them the second they open the gates. And you know what? It's a completely rational fear. But he has to check it out. So he sends a few scouts to confirm the story. And this is where the final act begins, where every single piece of Elisha's prophecy falls into place.
especially the tragic part. And sure enough, the scouts ride out and find the road all the way to the Jordan River, just littered with clothes and equipment that the Arameans threw away in their panic. It's true, the enemy is really, truly gone.
I mean, just look at how fast this all happened. In less than 24 hours, the city of Samaria goes from the brink of cannibalism to unimaginable wealth. And it all hinged on a prophet's impossible promise and a desperate gamble by 4 outcasts. So the city gates are thrown open and the people pour out to plunder the camp. And just like that, the market completely corrects itself. Exactly as Elisha had foretold, the best flour and barley were being sold for a single shekel at the city gate.
But what about that skeptical officer, the one who laughed? The king put him in charge of the gate to manage the chaos. But you just can't control a flood of starving people. In their desperate rush to get to the food, the crowd trampled him, and he died right there in the gateway.
And this brings us right back to the chilling, perfect precision of Elisha's prophecy. The officer saw it all happen. He saw the piles of food. He saw the miracle of his city being saved. But just as predicted, he did not get to eat any of it.
The officer's fate really leaves us with a fascinating question. When you're faced with something that seems to defy all logic, it's natural to be skeptical. But this story presents a world where the impossible really can happen. And it makes you wonder, where is the line between healthy doubt and a cynicism that just blinds you to the possibility of a miracle?